11 a.m. Eastern. Welcome, everyone. I'm Manuel Volant, together with Tobias Blei and the Making Connections Committee of the OB Division. We're very glad that you're joining us for today's session. I hope it's going to be a rich and candid conversation. And we gave the title Shaping the Future of the OB Division, a conversation with members of the Executive Committee. Before we dive in, I just briefly want to take a moment and introduce the members of the executive committee that are with us today. So we're joined by Amy Bartels, who's our representative at large for doctoral program. Beth Campbell is with us, our chief operating officer. Fadel Mata, our representative at large for the microcommunities and the chair of volunteers, is here. We have Marie Mitchell, who's our program chair. We have Jennifer Nargang, our program chair elect, and then we have Kira Shabram, our representative at large for the microcommunities. So please join me in giving them a warm welcome. Given that we're on Zoom, maybe wave to the camera. And thank you so much all for joining today and taking the time. A quick overview of how we're going to manage this today. We have 60 minutes. So for the first 40 minutes, the members of the executive committee are going to respond to questions that we distilled from the many questions that we got from you when you registered. So there's a good chance that the question that you submitted is going to be addressed in this portion. Then we'll open it up for about 20 minutes for any additional questions that you may have and kind of like have an open discussion. Few logistics, we would ask that everyone keeps themselves muted throughout the session. We are spotlighting the speakers, and so that way we can keep the conversation clear and focused. And so if you have a question, please wait for the open floor portion, and then we'll do our best to get to as many as we have time available. With that, let's get started, and I'm going to hand things over now to Tobias, who's going to be guiding us through the first set of questions.
Right. Hello. Thank you very much, Manuel. And hello, everyone. Nice to see everyone. So before we jump into our first question, let me quickly explain how we will be running this conversation. So rather than going around in a fixed order among our panelists, we will be using what is sometimes called a popcorn approach. Here is how it works. One of our panelists will respond to a question first, and then they will pass it along to a colleague they would like to hear from next. You do not need to wait to be called on, and you can also pass it along if you would like someone specific to respond next. All right, let's get started. Let's start with Amy. Amy, do you want to start? So Amy, how are you?
Great, how are you doing?
Awesome, perfect. So Amy, can you tell us a bit about your journey in the OB division? What motivated you to take on an executive leadership role within the division?
Absolutely. So, hi everyone. So I'm kind of a newbie to the division, so I am just getting started in this, but my journey really just kind of started with just trying to dive into as many different things that I could, starting with just attending stuff. So early on in my doc program, I started just attending the different PDWs that the OB division offered. I tried to attend the awards division stuff. I tried to attend the meetings, just trying to meet different people, and just trying to get involved in that way just with my attendance. Then I got to talking to some other people about how they did it. And one of the things that I got involved in was something called our Making Connections Committee. So it's our MCC, and I help with that as well. And I helped starting to run some PDWs and stuff there. And just got the opportunity to kind of do things that I was passionate about. I've always been passionate about doctoral programming. So I got to do some of that early on, both with the MCC, and then when this opportunity came up to basically do that at the OB Exec Division, that's kind of where I jumped in to try and do that maybe at an even bigger level. So I would say starting by getting involved and then jumping in and getting involved basically through participation from there. So I'll jump that over to Jennifer and let her answer that as well.
I knew you were going to pick me, Amy.
Sorry.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Nargan from the University of Iowa. It's interesting to think about my journey with the OB division, especially because it's been longer than I would like to imagine. But I think for me, I first, now I'm on the 5 year track, but I first got started also in the Making Connections committee. But even before that, and one of my professors made the point to me that you grow up with people in the field, and that's true. And so I got involved early on just in organizing different events where I could connect with other people. And you hear that a lot. Like I know somebody that for 40 years met up with someone at Academy that they had first met in the New Doctoral Consortium. So you hear of those connections, and I think I just wanted to be a part of that, and be able to facilitate those things. So I started out, on committees, and then I did a rep at large run, which Amy and Fadl and Kira are doing. And then just recently decided to do the 5 year track. So that's kind of my journey. Uh, Kira, back to you.
Oh, well, hi everyone. I'm Kira. I'm here at Penn State. I thought about how honest I'm going to be with the audience, and I figure I'll just be really transparent. So I joined the OB division as a first year doctoral student because that's what you're supposed to do, right? It's just one of the two divisions you join, and then I never really did anything with it. It felt too big, it felt too intimidating. And so I really gave all of my attention to other divisions, which, by the way, I think I should be honest here. We'd obviously love to have you be more involved in the OB division, but just be more involved in the academy in general would be an encouragement I have. Hopefully we're your people, but if not, there's lots of others, but just get involved. And so, yeah, if anything, I think I had a bit of imposter syndrome with the OB division. It felt too big and too intimidating. So I served on other executive committees. And it wasn't until, Jennifer, what you just said really resonated with me, that you grow up with people. Suddenly I saw my peers do things for the OB division, and it felt slightly less intimidating. And I thought, why am I not more involved? And that is when I started volunteering for things, first just one-off opportunities. And then again, being really transparent. Some of my friends on the committee said, hey, you should run for rep at large. I don't know if I would have done it otherwise. And so I suppose I'm hoping for those of you in the audience, A, you're already ahead of me because you're proactively joining this session. Hopefully that means you're interested. But B, if I can be the person to push you, yeah, get more involved. I'd love to do that because other people, Beth included, did that for me. I don't know if I would have done it independently. And yeah, it's been really great. I enjoy this division a lot now. And I don't know, I'll throw to Fadl.
And my name is called. Okay, I honestly, kind of like everybody else, I think when I first went to Academy as a doctoral student, I'm like, what in the heck is going on? There's so many things happening, and it was very overwhelming. Um, and quite frankly, I found a lot of what the OB division actually was like super helpful to me. So, like, whether it be, I mean, starting with New Doctoral Consortium, which isn't OB division per se, but I think like with sessions like productivity process or, I would think about, the OB Doctoral Consortium and the things that I got involved with. Again, it did make the division kind of feel smaller and kind of tailored to a lot of the things that I was able to kind of find my people. So, kind of going in line with what everyone else had kind of said. I hadn't thought too much about ways in which I could even get involved because it just felt like, hey, these things are all happening. And they kind of allowed me. I actually made a lot of the connections of even a lot of co-authors at the OB Doctoral Consortium. We would talk about, hey, who's hiring? Is your school hiring? And like, it really was able to forge a lot of like really good connections through that. And then I think when I became an assistant professor, I found out, oh, maybe these are some things that I could kind of get involved with. So, I was kind of fortunate enough to, hear about ways to get involved in Making Connections Committee. So I did Making Connections Committee for 6 years and helped kind of organize some of the things that are happening through the OB division. And I think one of the nice things about the OB division is, going into like what motivated you to do this, like it's just a really great group of people who actually really care. And I think that was something that really connected with me because I I really care about the things that we want to do, and I wanted to kind of get involved with that. And I think that's what really drove getting involved with the committee. If it wasn't a bunch of people that I felt really, really cared, I think I would have less of a drive to kind of get involved. But I think we really do. And I think like one of our drives is really to try to make the division feel smaller. So although we're the biggest division in the academy, which I think we have almost 7,000 members, we're trying, trying our best. And sorry, I'll push this on to somebody else here in a second. But I think like through initiatives like the micro communities, through some of the things that we're trying to do in terms of volunteering, I think we want to get involved. We want to have more grassroots things that people can kind of get involved with. And that's kind of a thing that has really attracted me, and also solve some things that we're facing in terms of like reviewing and different kind of things. I think like we have some exciting things we're working on. Okay. And I'm gonna pass it off to Marie.
Thanks, Bob. Hi, everybody. Let's see, what made me get involved? What people don't know about me, am pretty introverted. And so throughout the course of my academic life, I have tried to get very comfortable with my uncomfortable. And I've always found that the OB division has been really warm and accepting of that because we're all a bunch of geeks down to the core. And so going to various activities really have brought me out of my shell. And so when there was an opportunity for me to step up and volunteer and continue the important conversations I was having anyway with critical members in the field about broadening inclusion, being present for individuals who have needs, making sure there's adequate resources, I took advantage of the opportunity to run for the 5-year track, and thankfully was also motivated by good old Beth as well. You gotta love Beth. She is truly the backbone of the OB division in so many ways. And so it's not lies, it's total truth, 100% with full love at her. So that's really what motivated me. And I just agree with everything everybody else has said about the community of the OB division, what it offers. And I just wanted to be a part of that and help others be a part of that as well. So how about I pass it then to Beth?
Thanks, Marie. And I'll be brief because I think my fantastic colleagues on this call said it better than me already. So when I was a rookie, Jennifer Nargan asked me if I would help run this PDW. And I think the lesson is I didn't know if I could do it, but I said yes, and I figured it out, and I got to work with really great people. So some of you on the phone might be like, okay, well, I'm not going to run doctoral consortium. I'm not going to run for the 5-year leadership track. When someone like asks you to organize a PDW, or if you have an idea about really awesome programming, put it together. Like the division, we make our own content, right? And being a contributor, and just being willing to like take a risk, put something together has been like just like one step at a time. So then I led MCC eventually. Then I was voted into the 3-year track, and now I'm COO and continue to haunt the halls of the OB division, just trying to cause good trouble and trying to be have our community be more member driven, more collaborative, figuring out different ways that we can enable you to be more plugged in, more excited about what we do, make this career more fun. I think the OB division creates some of the best programming at AOM. And so how can we do it in ways that are maybe more bite-sized, maybe more off-cycle year-round, or ways that really resonate with our members? That's what the question we're always trying to ask for ourselves. And we hope that you'll eventually maybe want to join us in doing some of that.
Excellent.
Oh, I'm supposed to
Thanks
popcorn it. Should we do a new question, or should I? Who needs to still talk?
No, thanks so much. I would move on now to talk a little bit more about the OB division, because I think it would be good kind of like to think about what is really like, what does the OB division stand for? So, Amy, I would start with you. In that case, we don't have to do like the full round again, just because we have a number of more questions. Um, I'd be curious to hear how would you describe the core identity of the OB division, given that there are a number of other divisions within the Academy of Management.
So there's two things that make me think of the OB division, and one is actually diversity. So, and that's actually diversity of research areas. So OB, it sounds like it's kind of narrow, but we're really big tent. And so what I love about that is when I'm in the different sessions or PWs, maybe I'm in a smaller area, I tend to focus more on leadership, but leadership needs all the different areas too. And so I love that I can meet and talk to people that are also part of the OB division. So they kind of fit under that big tent, but they do things so differently than I did because it really helps me grow as a scholar. And then with that is also the kind of the smaller communities that we've been able to create within the big ones. And because Kira's the expert on that, I'm actually going to popcorn it to her and let her talk about kind of that because I think that's a huge part of the identity that we have.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we're trying to do is make the division smaller, not by cutting membership, but just helping you find your subgroups. And the division has done a lot of really great, what I call top-down efforts. I mean, Making Connections has all of these different opportunities. One of the things we launched 5 years ago now is micro communities. I actually see a couple of micro community leaders in the audience, so hello. We would like to empower you to start your own micro community. And so what we do is three things. Number one, promotions. If you go on the OB division websites, if you have a micro community, we summarize it there and we have contact information so people can come find you. So there's micro communities on compassion, on leadership. There's a European Scholars micro community. So we organize those around anything you want. It can be a topic, it can be a geographic region, it can be some sort of identity or affinity. But if you are thinking about starting something with your people, we want to encourage that. So A, we do promotions, B, we do guidance. We just had a session earlier this week and we put a lot of information on the website on how you can seed and grow one. And then probably the biggest thing we do that people get excited about is we host your micro communities at the Academy, where we get an inspiring venue. Last year we did the Copenhagen Botanical Gardens. We're doing a tea house in Philadelphia. Those of you who are invited might know this already. And then we're also now starting to sponsor you to host your own micro community even off cycle. So I can give you more details if you want to reach out, but basically if you want to organize a group in your city, have a coffee hour, we can then refund you up to a point. But so our goal is to empower not just top-down efforts, but also now bottom-up micro communities. Yeah, I think that covers it, Amy. Do I popcorn to someone?
Yes, if you want to.
Beth, whenever I don't know what to do, I'll popcorn to Beth and Beth will know what to do.
Great, thank you. And I think Amy kind of hit the nail on the head that we really want to be big tent, and we want to be inclusive. We want to foster our micro communities, and we know that folks might also have ties to other divisions. That's great. We want to play nice with them. We want to use our scope, our scale, our resources to partner with other divisions as well and create positive change in the division. The other thing that I would emphasize, so we sort of organize how we think about ourselves in terms of rigor. How can we promote rigor in our field? How can we help one another level up the rigor of our scholarship? Relevant. So how can we be enabling one another to have a positive impact, to be doing really research that's really tangible and actionable and make society better? And then relationships. So how can we help our members foster connections that are meaningful to them, that can offer social support, but also maybe even like collaboration longer term. So that's how we organize ourselves. And then moving forward, part of our strategic goals really is about helping, like reaching members where they want to be, right? So some of that's micro communities. Some of it's member-driven initiatives. If you have a cool idea, come talk to us about it. We have a mechanism for that. We can send more information for that out. And then we also want to be more expansive in our global reach and making sure that we're serving members outside of North America and being more internationalized. So I think as a science, as we grow globally, that's going to be how we promote all of those things: rigor, relevance, and relationships. And so I will popcorn over to Jennifer.
I think this is a hard one because if you think about the identity, because there are so many because it is so big tent. I don't, other than I would say doing good research is a clear identity, right? Wanting to advance the field. But I do think in general, you have a lot, like in the true sense of if you ask people their identity, within the OB division, you'd get a lot of answers, right? And so maybe that's the identity, in and of itself. It's just, how broad it is. But I do think, yeah, overall, I would say people are wanting to do good research.
Can I
Yeah.
recap one? Because I think, and I love what you said, because I also struggle with that a little bit. And I was like, oh, thank you for my answer. I'm not really squarely answering this question. I'm just kind of answering a broader question. I think our core identity is that we deliver really high quality programming because we have infrastructure, and we have a lot of people who are really fantastic at delivering PDWs. Some of them are here on this call. And then our identity is in the strength through the breadth of our community and figuring out new ways to reach folks broadly to promote rigor, but also to make sure we're investing in more niche focused ways.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Now let's turn a little bit more to service and community of the OB division. And Tobias has a question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Manuel. So we know from the pre-registration or from the registrations that we have a lot of PhD students and also assistant professors joining this meeting today. And they, of course, ask, so why should we join the OB community? And therefore, Fadl, I would like to ask you, so how can junior scholars become meaningfully involved in the division activities? So what would you recommend, maybe from your own experiences, but also maybe what did you learn over the years?
I'm going to tie this into the last question, honestly. This is what I do, so just bear with me. Because one of the things, okay, I'm going to talk about how to get involved later, but I also just want to like frame this within like a strength of our division versus other divisions. So I think like one of the things about the OB division is I think we are very big and we're trying to do a lot of cool content. At the same time, I think like we really are interested in empowering our members to actually do things. So like Beth had kind of mentioned, hey, we're probably the most resource rich division in the academy. We have resources, and guess what? Like you can look at who's on the OB exec team. We have a very large team, but there's only so much that we can do ourselves to kind of be putting on really cool content. And I think like we really care and we're really focused on it. But I think like a strength of our division versus other divisions is like if you have a good idea or you want to do something, we have the resources to help you do it, right? And so like this is one of the things that like actually Keith and I are kind of trying to work on right now, which is how can we better meet what people want to do, like with the resources to help them do those things, right? And that's kind of like something that he and I have been working on this year. And again, it's easier said than done. But so I think like the first thing I would start with is if you have a really good idea, I think we're the division that would like to host it because we have the resources, we have the reach, we have the things to kind of do that. But there's a plethora of ways that you can really get involved in the division. And like that's another thing we're kind of working on. I think like one of the issues we've kind of had with volunteers is like people will say, "Hey, I want to volunteer," right? And so that goes into a pool of people that and we don't have a really good way to match people with opportunities, right? Like we want to know, hey, what skills do you have? What do you actually want to do, right? What kind of time commitment you're kind of working with. So actually, what we're trying to do and launch before this summer is having a tool that we can kind of use, collect information, and actually use AI and different tools to better match people to opportunities, but also to direct people to think, hey, do you want to start a member-driven initiative? Do you want to start a PDW? Do you want to get involved in making connections committee? You might not even know what exactly you want to do. You just want to get involved. And so finding better ways to kind of do that. So we're going to be launching that tool. So if there's something that you're interested in, like more information is kind of coming on that. But at the end of the day, we want people to be more involved. We want to make, I mean, again, one of the things I found to be so interesting, just like my first time to the academy meeting when I was a first year PhD student, when I showed up, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, we have 15,000 people. It was kind of the same thing when I showed up in my first OV exec committee meeting because I'm like, what are we do? We're putting on all of these events. We're doing all this, and it's this small group of people that is doing it. But I think like one of the things that surprised me was the way in which we really are trying to serve our members. I think the first thing we ask is in terms of rigor, rigor, relevance, and relationships that Beth brought up. We think about those things and we say, how can we serve them? And really, what we want to do is empower our members to be able to actually contribute to the division in more ways because there are people interested in getting involved, and like we need to do a good job of resourcing people to get those kind of things done. And I think again, it starts kind of with like what Kira said. That's kind of where the micro communities initiative came from. And I think we're trying to keep evolving and adding things that kind of empower members, if that makes sense. So I'm going to talk forever because that's what I do. I need to stop. But I think like be on the lookout. I mean, the first thing I can do, we have a like volunteer page where you can go, you can say kind of the things. But again, we're kind of trying to evolve that so we can better actually fit what you want. And so like more information is going to be coming out on that. But I would say step one, too, is come to events, right? And then get involved in any of the things that you might be interested in, whether that be making connections committee, and there are a lot of people that need help. And so I think making the connections with the right people. And also, again, I think micro communities is amazing. And I was involved with it for a little bit. And that's a good way to kind of find your home and a good way for you to kind of get involved in the division.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds great. Do you want to popcorn to another person?
I'm gonna popcorn to Keith.
Yeah, Keith is new here. Yeah.
Apologies, it's been that morning, including a screw and a tire. So we're here, we're sorted now. So yeah, in terms of, I'm guessing we're popcorning to ways to get involved or thinking about getting involved in the division. Yeah, so as Fadl mentioned, we'll put a plug in for the new volunteer system that we're putting in place, and we're trying to think beyond just this is where you volunteer for things, but as a portal for thinking about ways to engage from here's something formal that we already have going on and structured and an opportunity for you to do that, all the way up to I have an innovative new idea that's currently not being done. How do I see about talking to somebody to get that resourced or moving? But for myself, I think getting involved in PDWs was a starting point. Finding PDWs I could even attend, even if I wasn't a presenter. Started meeting people that way who were doing interesting things. From there, that evolved into getting invited to participate in a couple PDWs. And from there, that sort of network of people wanting to do things in the academy grew. And so from there, for me, it moved into a rep at large role. And then after that, after a couple of years of forgetting what that service was like, ending up in the elected 5-year role. So I would say just anything you can do that plugs you into the people that are doing things and making things happen is a great way to think about where you can plug in. And adding value in a micro community is a great start. Thinking about making connections committee. And we're moving more and more. Academy has more and more interest in doing things off cycle, right? That Academy is not just a conference, but Academy is sort of a seamless year-round experience. And so just finding ways to plug into those pieces are how you're going to start to know people who are coordinating and making things happen, and gives you an opportunity to do the same.
Thank you so much, Keith. Does anyone want to add something?
Can I just plug one thing?
Yeah.
So one of the other things that the Making Connections Committee, whose charge is to really deliver great content, but also make the Academy feel more navigable, and the OB division feel more navigable, is they have these like tracks or roadmaps, like, okay, you're halfway through your PhD. Here's a series of sessions you might want to go to. Okay, you're a junior faculty member. Okay, at this career stage, here is a handful of sessions that might serve some of your career goals or some of the things you're thinking about. Because like Keith was mentioning, some of my early connections at the Academy were going to a PDW and meeting someone that was a year or two ahead of, or a year or two behind me, and kind of having conference buddies. And that the Academy, I mean, every year over year, it just made the Academy feel so much smaller. And now most of us can't walk down the hallway without running into some of those folks. And it just starts really small and snowballs. I know, and I'm just looking at some of the folks in the room. I know some of you are already doing that and have been doing that, but it's really tremendous how, if you do that, the Academy feels smaller and more connected year over year.
Wonderful. Now, we've already been talking about the Academy of Management conference. And the next question, I would first ask Marie to answer that, just because Marie is the program chair. So what does the program planning cycle look for the annual meeting? From start to finish, can you provide us with some insights into what goes into planning the annual meeting?
I guess I can't just say a lot and leave it at that, but
No.
a lot. Every specific role has its own timeline and set of tasks. But at a meta way, I can tell you that it's a year-long process. After Academy, we're evaluating to look into what needs to be done for the future year. By the fall, we are already organized, meeting, dividing up tasks and interests to prepare for the January deadline. And that involves things like, what are the types of MCC events, OB directives, global committee directives that need to be done, in addition to off Academy programming, right? So it's not all about the Academy meeting, but the majority of that organization is about the Academy meeting. We're talking about things that are critically important, such as, do we have enough reviewers? How are we going to boost the reviewer pool before that submission deadline hits? Then once the submission deadline hits, then it really starts to where it's checking in every submission at every level. It's assigning reviewers. It's getting enough reviewers per submission. Then it's making decisions. And then from there, it's really slotting papers into paper sessions. It's identifying paper submissions for awards and creating those committees. It's then into the organization of timing, location, MCC events, global events, micro community events, you name it, it all happens to make Academy what it is, to make it as open, diverse, inclusive, engaged, and fun, right? And so while we're all sweating a little bit to make all of that back scene happen, it's all to enhance the experience at Academy. Did I miss anything at a big macro level, everybody? We're still going through it, by the way. Do you want me to popcorn it, or
Yeah, if anyone wants to add.
let me popcorn it then to Kira, because yeah, Kira, you're in really the thick of it too right now.
Well, I just wanted to add one thing to synthesize what everyone's been saying. One thing that didn't occur to me before I joined the OB Executive Committee is that all of these initiatives that we somewhat take for granted, or at least I took for granted, there's a person organizing them. Like the OB Doctoral Consortium was so important to me. I thought that was just an institution that runs itself, and it doesn't. It takes people to run it. And so I suppose part of this session is, if you want to be involved in being those people, that can be really helpful. I wanted to give one more example, and then I'll get to the cycle. But last year, we tried an OB division remote writing group. I don't know if any of you attended that, but We did sessions on how you can organize remote writing groups, and then we had different people host them. I was one of them, and we tried for a year, and we had people pop in and out. It never gained traction, and I've wondered about that. Is it just that we didn't promote it enough? Is it that our membership wasn't interested? And so the more, I suppose, you can initiate activities that we know you want because you're going to be involved in them, the better. And then also just feedback to us is always so helpful. What initiatives that we're running are working for you, which ones are not. The writing group being one of those. It's still in the back of my mind. I wonder if we should have tried that for another year. And so any feedback on that can be really helpful. Okay, that was totally unrelated to micro communities. I'll mention that real quick. Again, shout out if you want to start a micro community or join one, please do. We're interested. But yeah, the big organizing happens starting in the fall. We reach out to former micro communities and ask if they want to host again at the Academy. At this point, it's become so popular that we actually have limited space. We can no longer host everyone that we want to. So we try to find a space that can host 8 to 16 micro communities. And we're currently in the thick of negotiating the contract for the venue. And I won't bore you with the details of that. But so that's what's happening right now. We're trying to make that look as seamless as possible for the membership so that to them we just say, hey, we've got a venue. Please pick one of 3 time slots that work for you, and then you come and attend. Other than that, off cycle, we're really trying to shift more of our attention to events that can offer guidance on how to grow your micro community, like the fireside chat we just did. And then also just to sponsorship. If you are looking to start a micro community and run something in your city in November, reach out to us. We'll help you plan that and get it going. So it's really year round with the main activity happening before Academy and negotiating the venue and all of that stuff. Okay.
Can I double click on something that you just said, Kira?
Yeah, please.
So I hope that one of the things you caught was that we try stuff and it doesn't always work. And so I hope, I mean, many of you probably have better ideas that I could ever come up with. But if there's an idea that's sort of half-baked, we'll work with you and we'll put you with someone who like has done PDWs, or we're willing to just try things, because especially given the fact that we have we can do Zoom PDWs. It doesn't have to be in Philly. It can be like, we could try something. We can have a PDW. We can announce it as a virtual PDW via our communication channels and see who comes. And that's just feedback for us. And we're willing to sort of be proper scientists, right? Experiment, try, hone it a little bit, try again, and decide whether or not it's viable. But if members are excited about something, we'll give it a go most of the time.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. I have one more question. Thinking about like the behind the curtain, Jennifer, as you've been preparing for the annual meeting, is there something that you've learned over the years?
So I have lots of thoughts as I've listened to different things. So maybe I'll answer the question and then maybe I'll go on my soapbox. No, I'm just kidding. I'll try to answer the question. I think one of the things that I've learned is, and Kira kind of said this before, is that I think we think it's this well-oiled machine and we don't recognize like how much, to a certain extent, minutia there is behind the scenes. One of the things that we get a lot of credit because, we're in some positions where are more visible. But, when Marie's talking about checking in submissions, there's 4 entire people that spend 2 weeks literally checking in submissions. And I know that sounds like, why don't we try AI? They did. It didn't work. And so, I mean, it just takes a lot of time to do those things. And so I think we forget that when we're thinking about the program, or when we're in Philly, or we're at the conference. We forget that there's a lot of people behind the scenes, both in the OB division as well as in the Academy management, right? We're like, why isn't there food here? Or why isn't there this here, right? Why aren't the chairs set up the way we want them to be? And we forget how much there is behind the scenes. And the last thing I would say, there's been a lot, I guess, just in terms of getting involved. I think there's been a lot of talk around different committees and things like that. I would say, one of the things that the OB division really needs, there's two things. One is reviewers. And probably people here reviewed, but you would be shocked and somewhat disappointed at how much we have to like fight for people to do reviews. Um, and then the second is the academy we often think of academy as just the conference. I think, and the broader academy is really pushing us to do off-cycle events. And so that's where I would say for those of you that want to get involved, that would be a great way is to say, I'd love to do, like Beth just mentioned, a PDW that's off-cycle. Like we often try to tie it to the conference. The writing group is another example, right? That's an off-cycle. And those things, you've got people that can't come to the conference, right? And they want to be a part of Academy. And so that's one of the really big pushes that I think broadly Academy's trying to make. And a lot of times people are like, maybe they don't think about kind of the off-cycle events. And I think that's important to think about.
Can I piggyback off of something Jennifer had in there that I think is a great point that was in there. So the nature of an all volunteer sort of organization like this is you're going to get the people who are already pretty involved with a lot of things going on. Like there's a lot of these people that are also AEs or guest AEs on projects. They tend to be pretty busy. And so when somebody's a member says, "Hey, I wish you guys were doing this," cool, I wish I had the bandwidth to make that happen too. Versus when somebody says, "Hey, I think you guys should do this. I've got an idea for how to do it, and I'm willing to carry some water." Those are the initiatives that tend to make it through, as opposed to like, I've got this great idea for something, the OB division could be doing, when already there's a lot going on and you've got an all volunteer group of people who oftentimes are overcommitted. So the best thing you can do if there's something you really want to see is even bring another person and say, "Hey, I've got this great idea for an initiative. Here's the way it could actually work. And by the way, I've got somebody else here with me to help carry some of that water as well." And it's just a matter of everybody has, finite bandwidth and there's a lot going on you don't already see. So we welcome and love those initiatives, especially where somebody says, "I've got an action plan, and I've also got somebody here to help do a little bit of lifting."
Can I build on Keith's for just a second?
Go ahead.
I just have one other thing. So it's also okay if it doesn't work. I know Beth said that, but I want to reiterate that. Marie said something earlier that really resonated. She's like, "I am an introvert at heart." I am as well. And I also have this fear of like throwing an idea out there and it totally crash and burning. And that's okay. Like, it's okay. And so I guess if you can, for me, it was like stepping over the fear and throwing an idea out there or my name out there and being vulnerable. That to me was the hardest part. Actually doing it was sometimes the easier part, is to find the time and to do it. So I guess I wanted to reiterate, if you're like me and that feels really hard to be vulnerable like that, you're not alone. So you can do it, and we really do want you to. And it's okay if it doesn't work out. We won't think any less of you. We just want to keep trying, because all of us here have had stuff that we've tried and it's totally flopped, and that's okay. We just try the next thing.
That's a great piece of advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. So maybe before we come to the open floor discussion, maybe one wrap up question for all of you again. So maybe if you could summarize in one word, one expression. So if you could give one piece of advice to the OB community, what would it be? Maybe Kira, you start. One piece of advice.
Oh boy. Get involved, right? But
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna echo what everyone said. Get involved and start small. Sign up as a reviewer, volunteer for a PDW, start a micro community. Start small and build.
Perfect. Amy?
Yeah, I would say, and it doesn't even have to be just even participating. I love that you're here with these off-cycle things. So starting to participate is also a great way to meet people and to start your journey as well.
Perfect. Heath, what is your piece of advice?
Gosh, we're running out of room left on advice to give, but I would say invest in the people would be a big one. So for a lot of the people that I know, through this process and have gotten to know, it's because I met them, like I've known Marie for years from kind of doing behavioral ethics research and being in that small world. So find your small world, invest in it, build genuine connections and relationships with people. And that will be more useful to you than, how many hands can I go shake in the course of, one AOM meeting.
I would
Awesome.
also say, even though I said don't revolve everything around the conference, I do think to that point, when you show up at a social, I'll even take this on myself, go meet someone new. That would be my advice. Go reach out to the person that's like kind of on the edge, like not really sure what I should do. I think we also have adopt a mentor, adopt new member, right? Like do something like that where there's somebody brand new to the academy, and just reach out and ask them how they're doing. Introduce yourself.
I'm going to piggyback on that and just go back to my original words of get comfortable with your uncomfortable. And I think Jen's advice there is straight on. My advisor is Maureen Ambrose, and she would always say, you need to move away from me and go get comfortable getting to know other people. And you're going to be surprised just how welcoming and wonderful individuals in our OB community are. And they're going to be your big warm hug each time you go to a conference. So get comfortable with your uncomfortable.
And apparently, according to Amy, it's probably something I should know. You can do welcome a member even if you're not going to AOM. So there you go.
I'll go.
Perfect.
I think one of the things that I hope you've captured on this call is that we take our work seriously, but we don't actually take ourselves that seriously. And so we'd love to interact with you. And like, I hope we want you to feel a sense of belonging in the division because you totally belong here. And we're delighted you're here. And let's do some cool stuff. Like, getting that deep.
I'll jump in. I didn't get popcorn, but I'll jump in here. So I think one thing is like taking the mentality that I truthfully believe this. The OB division, like our goal is to serve you, right? And like that was one of the things that like really struck me. I think in a lot of other divisions, it's like, hey, we got to get all of these things done. When I came into the OB exec committee, like that's what we were talking about. How can we serve our members? But I think you can take that perspective too. This division wants to serve me, but we need to know what we need from you, right? And so my advice to you would be like to take that mentality. Hey, here's a really well-resourced division that actually does care. How can I get involved or how can I share what I actually really need so that we can serve that need?
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think this covered pretty everything. So thank you so much to our panelists for such a thoughtful and wide-ranging conversation. I really enjoyed it. I hope the audience also did so. But now I talked about the audience. Now we would like to turn it over to you guys, to the audience. So for the next remaining 12 minutes, the floor is open. So if you have any questions or something you would like to raise, please raise your hand. So do that virtually or like with your camera, and I or Manuel will call you. So alternatively, you can also use the chat function if you want to post something in the chat. So we have a good amount of ground to cover in the limited time, so we may not get every question, but we'll do our best to address as many questions as possible. So now please hands up or post your questions into the chat and we look forward to answering them. Who wants to start?
Keith and Fodl, you have a question.
Good. That's a great question. And it's one we're in the process of answering because historically we would put out, we have an ask here for reviewers for Academy. We have an ask for volunteers to help with a particular project. And what it would happen is we would put out these discrete calls. It would all go into separate spreadsheets, and maybe we did or didn't end up accessing those volunteers that wanted to help that we needed. So what Fadl and I are working on right now with Harry, who's our comms guy, who's doing incredible things, we're building kind of a one-stop shopping platform. And this is hopefully going to roll out by the summer, where basically there's a link. I want to get involved. It gives you a little bit of a decision tree for what kinds of things you're interested in doing, a discrete task at the conference or what have you, and will help sort of set you up with the right person to get you moving. So right now, a good old-fashioned email to somebody works great. It can even be me, since I'm kind of in that volunteer role right now, or to Fadl. But again, we're trying to move towards something that's a little bit more coordinated and a little more systematic. So we're actually getting back to people. And, we'll always have 30 volunteers for something we need 2 hours from one person for, but sometimes have a hard time getting one person to do something more ongoing. So we're in the middle of trying to coordinate that. But right now, an email directly to me is super welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Any other questions from the audience? Don't be shy. They're all nice and friendly.
One other thing that you can absolutely do in the next little while, starting May 6th, we have a new election we are going from 3 representatives at large to 5 representatives at large, because we are such a big division and we want to be delivering more programming and engaging more internationally. So at minimum, please vote. Vote. We have a great slate of folks, great slate for a 5-year leadership track, incredible slate for 3-year rep at large track. And we would love to have all of them, but we want you to help us figure out who can join us and represent you on the division.
So this question seems very long, but I think I condense it to the most important facets of it. So what recommendations would you have for someone who hasn't been in the business realm, but whose work is closely connected to the OB division? So what would you recommend to these people?
I think the first, as I think about it, is I would find any PDW or symposium that's on org change and worker well-being, just as a way to start connecting with people. So again, I think it does seem like a big, big piece in terms of the OB division. So I think you've got to make it smaller. And so thinking about where are some of those smaller groups that I could go to. And so obviously program's not out yet, but even trying to find ways that you could connect with people that have a similar, interest to you, essentially. I mean, that's what micro communities are doing, is how do you find those different people that, have similar interests. And so that's where I would start is, PDWs or symposiums where you could meet people that are interested in the same things as you. There's also, if you're late, it says late, early, mid-career, there's also some PDWs for different stages of people's career as well that you may want to check into.
Piggybacking on that too, part of that message said that we all appear to be a tight-knit group. Understand that I didn't always feel that way. And it's taken many, many years in the making to get to know individuals that are part of this leadership team and other individuals I know that are in the audience as well. And so the only way to get to know individuals and be part of that conversation is to sign up for things and start talking to people, right? So get comfortable with your uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Giselle had her hand up, I think.
Yeah.
A question, Giselle?
Oh yeah, I was going to type it into chat. I'm curious if there are opportunities to sort of like serve as an apprentice to someone who's in a leadership role. So like not necessarily doing like a discrete volunteer task, but like I know JAP's ERB has a system like that where you can like be an apprentice to an AE and kind of learn the ropes and take some of their tasks and do it like under their supervision. So you can kind of learn what that role entails, but not be left on your own.
Sounds like something we could probably think about how to do. Do you want to send me an email?
I will do that.
I will say they kind of do that in some of the ways that things are set up, like the elect position. You know, Jen is serving the elect to program chair. And so they're building up the skills to program chair. Then, of course, I'm going to move into Keith's spot next year, learning from Keith. Keith's moving into Galad's spot, learning from Galad, and so forth, right? And the same is true within the MCC, the global community, and micro communities. And then there's volunteers who also help within those roles who start watching and learning how things are going. Because to be honest, we're all learning as we're going to. So, but I love the idea of that for sure.
Any other questions from the audience?
Can I have a question?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
This is more out of curiosity, not so directly related to how I can be involved. Thank you for all the information. I feel like now I know different ways that I can be involved. I just wonder, I know we have like those surveys, feedback form after each activity and initiative, especially during AOM. But there are so many members, like OB is just so huge. Do we like, or is there a way that committee or like as a whole, the group, do we have like a ways to know like the whole OB community sentiment? I guess I'm kind of thinking about like something like employee satisfaction survey, you know, like so like how do we track like what has been changing? Like what's the trajectory? Like I don't know, like just different aspects to understand the people like in our group and how that evolves over time. I guess part of it is also I'm also thinking, oh, how is the community, how has the community been changing over the years as well? It probably is very different from you guys started and now and in the future. So just a thought in my mind.
Beth, I think you got to take, there is 5-year strategic reviews, right? That's probably the strongest example.
Yeah, I love that question because I'm the process nerd. Yeah, so every 3 years we do a member survey. And so when we send that out, please take it because we really do take that seriously. And that is a direct feeder into our strategic plan. So we spend the super majority of we meet at Academy, but then we also meet at a mid-year meeting all together, virtually or in person if possible. And we flesh out like, here's what we're hearing from our members. Let's think, these are our stakeholders. Here's our stakeholders that we feel like we're serving well based upon their feedback and based upon how we're plugged in. And here's some stuff that like, okay, here's some areas that we really need to develop more. And so that goes into our 3-year strategic plan. And I'm going to drop it in the chat. It's public and I think it's on our website. So that feeds up to Academy and it really helps to focus our attention for what we're going to do for the next 3 years in service of what we're hearing from members. So yeah, thank you so much for that question, Grace. Did I squarely enough answer that for you?
Yes, absolutely. Now I feel that I've been in the group for more than 3 years, so I feel like I should know that. But thank you for flagging that. Oh, spread the word. I don't know. I feel like
okay.
People would love to know too. Like, so I guess it's once in a while steps highlighting that and letting people know really what all of the work that you guys are working is actually a way to kind of like take a sneak peek into the inner running.
I think this is one of my main takeaways from this conversation too. Someone else said it in the chat, and I appreciated that. I think there are things we are doing that we could do a better job at giving visibility and spotlighting. Like we do it, and we're so excited to deliver it, but we can do more in addition to announcing that we're doing it and for people to join us, say, hey, we did this. There's a recording, or here's the resources associated with that, to make sure that we're showcasing to members what we're doing so that they can also latch onto things that they might want to get involved with in the future, or give us more feedback on how we're engaging members.
Thanks, Beth.
Excellent. Thank you so much. On that note, I'm afraid that we're at time. I want to extend a sincere thank you to Amy, Beth, Marie, Keith, Jennifer, and Kira for sharing your thoughts and experiences of the OB division. To all of you who joined today, thank you for being here, for the thoughtful questions that you submitted, and then for like all the continued engagement with the OB division. It's the conversations like this that really remind us that we are a remarkable, a lively community. We hope that you're going to carry some of that energy with you to the rest of the week and for the days and weeks to come. Take care of yourself. We hope to see many of you either serving in the OB division or attending the sessions that we have at the AOM conference in Philadelphia in July and August. So we look forward to seeing you all there. Take care, and then see you next time.